Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to be covering the new From the Vault Odyssey set. So, it's a new set introduced in Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest in 4.1. It's got 60 brand new cards. It's got a new event that's coming with it. It's a PvP event. There is an entry fee, has a rank reward, and then there are 3 nodes. So you've got the Atog node, the Cabal node, and Battle in the Pits node. And you also get to choose a support card at the start, which is pretty cool. We've got some new mechanics. So we've got Flashback over here, and it's a new graveyard mechanic, and it lets you cast spells directly from your graveyard. So it's kind of like Escape, but instead of focusing on gaining mana from graveyard gems only, it benefits from having other cards with Flashback in your graveyard. And so it plays well with Self-Mill and Discard. So let's take a look at the cards. They're pretty cool for the most part, right? So we've got the first one here, Aboshan Cephalad Emperor. This is going to be one of the paid bundles. It's a 6/6 for 14, and when a Cephalad creature you control attacks, disable the first enabled creature until end of turn. Trap 3, disable all creatures without flying until end of turn. So this is really just about locking your opponent down. The trap ability is going to make it so that you disable a whole bunch of stuff. Then whenever the Cephalad attacks, that's also going to disable things. There are only 2 Cephalads in the game, including this. So just keep that in mind. So cool card, but yeah. Aether Burst. It's going to bounce a critter, but it requires your opponent has 5 or less cards in hand. Not very good. Auragraft. Target creature loses all of its buffs and its enchanted abilities. Then fetch the first aura from your opponent's graveyard, give it half its mana. I mean, nah, I'm not huge on that one either. Enshrine. We actually have a bunch of cards like this in that there's going to be one for each color. So the white one is the Enshrine, and when you cast a spell, you gain 1 life with threshold X. So for each copy of Enshrine in your graveyard, you get this effect added. It's additive. So if you have 2 Enshrines, you gain 2 life, up to 6. And then when this card is exiled from your hand during your turn, discard it instead. So you can just dump them into your graveyard when you get them, play 1, and get the effect. Gaining 6 life per spell, though. I mean, there will be like gimmicky uses for it, but not super great. Barbarian Ring already existed in the game. They just moved it into the Odyssey set. And so it's going to be a gem converter that also makes it so that, well, you lose life. And then you can also burn your opponent, and you can also deal damage to your opponent. For the most part, I like other gem converters in Legacy more than I like this. So not necessary. Bearscape. Activate 3 green. Exile the first 2 cards from your graveyard and create a bear token. Those bear tokens are 2/2s, so not super strong either. It's a cool card, but not like a super strong one. Buried Alive. This card is fantastic. Destroy the first 3 different creature cards from your library. So it's kind of like Gather the Pack, and so in a green-black deck where you want to play some kind of Reanimator build, this will be really cool. Only 5 mana. Sweet card. Cabal Patriarch. This is going to be, I believe it's another one of the bundles, right? So if we go back over here, it says we've got a bunch of new bundles. Cabal Patriarch, yeah. So Cabal Patriarch is one of the bundles, so it's going to be presumably another $20 card. So 15 for a 7/7, and at the end of your turn, you may destroy the last other creature you control. If you do, target opposing creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. When a creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, target opposing creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. This card seems really weak to me. Just the minus is until end of turn. You have to destroy your own things to do it. So while this may be useful for like getting rid of some of your own creatures if there's like a lose creatures objective, it's not a super strong card. Cobalt Pit. This is the black version of the gem converter. So it's going to make you lose life. It's going to convert gems. Once again, I don't particularly like this cycle of gem converters. We've got Cabal Shrine. This is the black shrine. So Whenever you cast a spell, your opponent loses 1 life, up to 6 if you have 6 shrines in your graveyard. This could actually be kind of substantial, just in the way that, like, it's not called Apex of Power. Imminent Doom. They both have Bolas on them, and they're both red. But just as Imminent Doom, it can be deadly for casting a bunch of spells, this foreseeably could be too. More of gimmicky, because if you want it to get up to 6, you have to get a bunch in your graveyard. So, Call of the Herd. Here's our first card with Flashback. P.S. Absolutely love Flashback. So create an elephant token. Those are 3/3 tokens. Then if you cast this card from your graveyard, your elephant creatures get +3/+3 and gain Berserker and Trample. So this is a fantastic card. This is really easy to play from your graveyard. You play some kind of self-mill nonsense, get a whole bunch of Call of the Herds into your graveyard and other cards with Flashback. They gain mana really, really quickly. Works really, really nicely with Underrealm Lich, stuff like that. So really cool card, really cool mechanic. Gantivore, you can pull this in packs. It's also going to be available as a bundle. As long as there are 5 or more enchantments, it gets +4/+4, so it can become 9 for an 8/8 with Vigilance, and with Threshold 2, the creature gains First Strike. So it's good for newer players. For people who have more stuff, you're going to have better options in Legacy. Catalyst Stone. Whenever a card with Buried enters your graveyard from anywhere, it gains 2 mana. So Buried is also going to include the Flashback cards. So all of your Flashback stuff just gains 2 mana when it goes to the graveyard. And then while this is on the board, cards with Buried your opponent's control can't gain mana while in the graveyard. So if in the Odyssey event we run into a whole bunch of stuff where people are playing a bunch of Flashback nonsense, then this could be really cool to stop that. And if in the future, if they continue to use Buried as a mechanic, if we see some PvE decks that are running a lot of Buried, this could be really cool. But yeah, limited, right? Centaur Garden. This is the green version of our land cycle. Once again, not huge on this. Gives creatures bigness and, yeah, bigness. Cephalad Broker. This is our second Cephalad. So I mentioned that there are 2 Cephalads in the game. This is the second one. It's a 3/3 for 9, and at the end of your opponent's turn, you may discard the last 2 cards from your hand to draw 2 cards. So not great, not terrible, but tentacles though. Cephalad Colosseum. Yeah, this is not a Cephalad creature, but it's the blue cycle of our lands. Cephalad Shrine. This is the blue cycle of our shrines. It's going to make it so whenever you cast a spell, drain mana from your opponent's hand. So I feel like the setup for this one is going to take too long for it to be like actually good, but it could be proven wrong. It doesn't strike me as being very good. Chlorophyll. This is going to be the first of the mythics that you'd pull in a booster. It's a 5/5 for 10, and at the beginning of your turn, this creature gets +1/+1. With Threshold 2, it's going to get 3/3 at the beginning of each of your turns instead. So for you newer players, this card is incredibly powerful. Especially if you use it in conjunction with Gather the Pack, you can make it so it's getting +3/+3 every turn really easily. If you probably don't have a bunch of Planeswalkers at level 60, this 10 mana is not particularly prohibitive. So, very good card. Cognivore, 5/5, 12, Lurgoyf, beautiful face. Look at that. Like, this is a dating profile picture if I've ever seen one. As long as there are 10 or more spells in all graveyards, this creature gets +5/+5. Really not too hard to do. Threshold 3 gains hexproof. So, I mean, this could pretty easily be 12 for a 10/10, which really isn't that bad. Confessor, yes, I must confess that I don't like this card very much. I know that there's a lot of really cool ways to discard cards, and I've even made decks where I discard like 100 cards in a turn. But that's just going to get you to max life. So, not huge on that. Cultural Exchange, another mythic you can get from packs. For each creature you own and control, exchange it for the first creature your opponent owns and controls. Okay, so this basically swaps the board. If you've watched many of my other videos, you know that I don't usually like playing with my opponent's cards because I am all high and mighty and think that I make better decks, so I don't like this card. Deserted Temple. At the beginning of your turn, convert 3 gems to loyalty. At the end of your turn, your land supports gain 1 shield. This card is awesome. There's a lot of really cool uses for this. Boosting up land supports is really nice. If you like playing with gates and you get annoyed that your gates break too much, this is really good for something like that. I'm sure there will be other wonderful combo options in conjunction with this, but yeah, definitely a cool card. Dog Hunter. Well, I know it's not a dog hunter, but whatever. So when this creature attacks, destroy the first opposing creature token. This is a really good card. Tokens are really nasty in Puzzle Quest, and so that this just auto kills creature tokens is pretty sweet. So I like that card quite a bit. Dwarf Enshrine. This is the red shrine from our cycle. This one I actually like. So when you cast a spell, destroy 1 gem of your opponent's planeswalker color. So with this one, it's going to be destroying itself, putting itself into the graveyard, making the threshold easier, A. B, in destroying gems, well, you're going to be gaining mana, so it's going to make it so you can play more spells, especially since red has access to stuff like Niv, or maybe you throw it with like red-blue and run Barrel. So this card seems like it could actually be pretty good. Dwarf and Strikeforce. When this creature enters the battlefield, you may discard the last card in your hand. If you do, it gets +5/+0 and haste. So 11 for a 5/4 haste for strike, and you can make it a 10/4 haste. So it's actually pretty solid, especially once again for newer players. Not a very prohibitive cost at 11, and it can do a lot of work. Epicenter. Destroy 5 gems of your opponent's planeswalker colors. Threshold 2. Destroy all land supports and gems of your opponent's planeswalker's colors. This is a cool card. I'd have to play with it before I go like, hey, this is a really good card that's worth chasing. But it's cool, you know. Destroying the gems is nice. Limiting your opponent's mana gains, possibly getting you cascades, and then destroying lands and all your opponent's gems is cool. Fervent Denial. Another flashback card. To drain all mana from the first card in your opponent's hand. Nope, this one, active, dislike. First card, draining mana, not good. Firebolt, deal 3 damage to any target. Flashback, cool card, right? 3 damage is not very much, so I don't know how much use you're going to get out of this, but it's still cool. Once again, I really like how flashback works. So I would imagine that if you have got a really great cycle going with Underrealm Lich and you're dumping a whole bunch of things into the graveyard, you could cast a bunch of these, but that's a heck of a lot of confirm cancel prompts, so I don't know. Flameburst. Deal X damage to any opposing target, then destroy X gems. X is 2 plus the number of cards named Flameburst in all graveyards, up to 5. So I like this one, even though it's a maximum of deal 5 damage and destroy 5 gems. For 6 mana, that's not bad. You could get a bunch of extra mana from, well, all the gem destruction, so could be cool. Innocent Blood. Destroy the first creature each player controls. Yeah, this is beautiful. At 5 mana, as Odyssey is going to allow the use of origins for the event, this will get rid of stuff like Gaia's, and you'll probably run into Gaia's because, well, Gaia's. And there's not a whole lot of, well, non-targeted removal in the sets allowed, so yeah. Cabal Pit Fighter. This is another paid bundle card, so this is going to be probably another $20 card. It's a 10/5 for 16. It's got haste, and when it attacks, deal 4 damage to any opposing target. So this is going to be really strong, like really, really strong. So, I mean, it's attacking for 14. You get to determine where that extra 4 goes. As you reinforce it, you're reinforcing an extra 10 power. It's got haste. If I recall correctly from what I saw of all the paid bundles, this one is by far the best. Yeah, very strong card. Kurtar's Wrath, white. So destroy all creatures. It's mythic. You get it from packs. Threshold 2, then create X white spirit tokens. X is the number of creatures destroyed this way. So maximum, you make 6 spirit tokens, which are 1/1s. Not super great, but I mean, it kills everything. So, I mean, maybe I'll use it. I don't know. 7 for a 2/2. While this is on the battlefield, this creature gets +7/+7. Yeah, once again, this is one of those things where you could use it nicely in conjunction with Gather the Pack for a new player, but that's about it. Life gain, bad. Next, Magma Vein. At the beginning of your opponent's turn, destroy up to X gems of your planeswalker colors, deal X damage to each creature without flying. X is the number of... Oh, see, this is really cool. You're reading it and you're like, yeah. And then X is the number of opposing creatures. This card is bad. Magna Void. As long as there are 5 or more artifact cards in all graveyards, this gets +4/+4. Not too hard to do, but not great, not terrible. Master Apothecary. When a cleric creature you control attacks, recover 2 toughness of your first damage not strong. Destroy the top 2 cards of your library. That's actually kind of cool, right? You're destroying your library and you're converting gems. So I like that. Not bad. Mind Burst. Your opponent discards a card. Then your opponent loses X life. X is... okay. At 7 mana. Not bad. Not great. You can use Infinite Obliteration. I think I would use that instead of this, but okay. Mind Slicer. This definitely comes from packs. So 8/7 for 15. It's got Berserker. When it dies, each player discards their hand. That's nasty, right? Because if it dies, maybe you're attacking something bigger than it, and then you lose any chance to respond. So I have to test it, but I don't like it. Mind Layer. When a land support is reinforced, destroy a block of 5/5 gems. Okay. You can do some really cool stuff with this. Use it with like Primeval Titan and then just get a whole bunch of gem destruction going. Make it a green-red deck. You can use it with Karametra, I think, the green-white god. There's definitely some really cool stuff you can do with this card. I like it. Mirari. Here is the masterpiece of the set. 14 mana. While on the board, copy the first spell you cast on each turn. That card gains full mana. You'll see that they specified each turn, and they've included a bunch of things with flash. So if you play a card with flash on your opponent's turn, that card's going to get copied and gain full mana. You'll have to wait until your turn to cast it, but nonetheless, this is a really strong card, and it definitely makes it worth it to get some Odyssey Packs just trying to get it. The Odyssey Packs are 200 mana crystals for 3 packs of 3 cards, and I think that the drop rate for this thing is like 30-something%. So it's not too hard to get. I've seen a lot of people getting like 2, 3 of these in one big pack. So yeah, definitely worth trying to get Mirari. Morgue Theft. Pick one of the first 3 creatures from your graveyard. Fetch that. No. Mortivore. As long as there are 8 or more creatures in the graveyard, it gets 4/4, and then it gets Death Touch with Threshold. Not super great. Once again, it's good with Gather the Pack, but yeah, no. Target creature gets XX. X is 6 plus the number of cards. Okay. I mean, you could give a creature +10/+10 for 7, which is cool. So maybe there'll be fun with this. Mythic Crusader. It's got protection from red and black. It's got Defender. And then with Threshold, it gets +2/+2 flying. Not super strong. Not the worst thing in the world. Here's our Green Shrine. So Green Shrine is going to make squirrel tokens. Up to 6 tokens every time you cast a spell. This is awesome. Right? I mean, I love squirrels. I actually recently saw a funny comic where Emrakul is like, I have the power to destroy worlds. I am crazy strong. And then 15 squirrels jump at Emrakul. And Emrakul thinks, how can I destroy worlds and die to 15 squirrels? But Nantuko Shrine is how you can die to 15 squirrels, Emrakul. Or in this game, 13 squirrels. 13 squirrels are going to kill you, Emrakul. Yeah, it's going to happen. Nomad Stadium. This is the white part of the land cycle. Dislike. Nut Collector. This card is nuts, but not in a good way. At the beginning of your turn, you create a squirrel, so every turn you get a 1/1. And while this thing is on the battlefield with Threshold, your squirrels get +3/+3 and Berserker. So, I mean, I guess it'll whittle things down, right? But, Patron Wizard. When a wizard you control attacks, drain 2 mana from the first non-creature card in your opponent's hand. So, I don't like that this is the first non-creature card. And it's a maximum of drain 6 mana. I'm not huge on mana drain, so I don't like that card. At the beginning of your turn, convert 3 gems to your Planeswalker colors. When this is destroyed, exile it, then return another. This is cool. Yeah. I love Petrified Field. This is a very good card. This I would use. This is a land, yeah, much like. Piana Nomad Captain. I think this comes from packs. It's 12 for a 4/4 double strike, so it's 12 for swinging for, 8. And when it attacks, your creatures get +X/+X until end of turn. X is the number of creatures you control. So it's going to be buffing itself, as it says, your creatures. If you've got 3 creatures, then that's going to be 12 damage going out. So this is going to be swinging for 16, right? 12 just from that. I might be messing up with my counting. It's 9, and then he gets another 3, and he swings for 14. So 14 for 8. So it's like, 17? Or he gets +3. 7, 14. Yeah, I was right. Okay, so, yeah, big boy. Little mana, big boy. Very strong. Very much worth getting. Price of Glory. When a player converts gems, all their mana bonuses become 1. That's annoying. This is a troll card. I wouldn't use it myself just because I wouldn't play a deck that doesn't convert gems, but yeah, that would be really annoying to face. Repentant Vampire. When a creature dies, it gets +2/+2. Dislike. Right? It requires a creature dying. You can kill your opponent's stuff, but at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may discard the last card in your hand to give it protection. Beautiful. All right, I think these worms are 5/5s or something like that. They're pretty strong. And then only requiring 8 mana. It's going to be really easy to dump a bunch of these things in your graveyard, once again, with like something like Underrealm Lich. And then you just get a whole army of worms. I loved this card in paper, and I love it in Puzzle Quest. Screams of the Damned. Exile the last card from your grave. No, that's terrible. Next. Croson Protector. When a druid creature you control attacks, convert 2 gems to green. That's actually pretty cool, especially at 12 for 6/6. I don't think this is the green one, is it? No, there were just those 3. Okay, no more. But yeah, this card is definitely pretty cool. Shower of Coals. Deal 2 damage to a target. Repeat it 2 more times. Threshold, you're dealing 4, so it can deal up to 12. Yeah, I like Shower of Coals. This is going to be really useful for the Odyssey event, I would imagine, as a red deck. This card is not good. Terravore. As long as there are 5 more lands in the graveyard, it gets 6/6, it gets reach, so it's mediocre. Thought Devourer is bad. Discard all cards without mana from your hand every turn. No. Traumatize. Destroy the top 10 different cards of target player's library. That could be pretty cool, like especially as it says different cards. That's just, it puts 1 of every card in the deck in the graveyard, right? Because each deck has 10 unique cards in it. So I like the potential for Traumatize, for sure. Wild Mongrel is a wonderful card in paper, is not a wonderful card in Puzzle Quest. Beginning of combat, you may discard. If you do, it gets 2/2 and hexproof. So, Last card in the set. Zombie Infestation. At the end of your turn, you may discard the last card in your hand. If you do, create a 2/2 zombie token. So, I mean, it's kind of cool, right? You can pick what goes last, and then you can have it just dumping all your madness cards or things with buried, and then have them come back. So there's definitely some really cool synergy you can have with Zombie Infestation. On the whole, I feel like the Odyssey cards are worth the Odyssey packs. It's worth trying to get like just a few to get Mirari, but with the new the new dual decks coming out, the new with the new cards, and those are going to be standard legal cards, and then we're getting 2 really, really strong new planeswalkers coming out with that. I mean, those 2 planeswalkers are going to cost you 1,300 mana crystals, and then all the cards for the dual decks are going to cost you a bunch of mana crystals. Maybe it's going to be like 300 per mythic, and what was it, 150 or 100 or 200 per rare or something. It's going to be a lot of mana crystals to get those cards. So if you've been stocking up on mana crystals, I would by and large save most of them for the dual decks. I do really like that they're putting stuff in like Odyssey. I like what that means for just possible other sets coming back. I like the design of the set. I like a lot of the cards, or not a lot. I like some of the cards in the set, right? But it's just as their legacy, I don't see them standing up to things like Omniscience or Deploy the Gatewatch or things like that. And yes, I know that in the Odyssey event, you can't use stuff like Omniscience and whatnot, which is nice. But nonetheless, it's cool. It's definitely very cool. I'm gonna hold out my final reservation until I see what the rewards are for the event. But I definitely like it, right? So the TLDR is I like it, but save most of your crystals for the dual decks. Thanks for checking in. I'll see you in the next one.